1.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome to Doug's Democracy Den. Here in the Den, we discuss American government, politics, and current events. We also begin every visit with a Pledge of Allegiance. So, everybody, join me if you will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today's topic is one which is generating quite a bit of controversy in this election cycle, something called mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is actually a dubious and disingenuous term, as we'll get to in just a moment. But I want to contrast it with the 2000 presidential election. When you're having an election, the balloting process matters. Process matters. It has to be predictable and understandable, or it confuses the voters. Many of you will remember the 2000 election between Gore and Bush, and how it was ultimately decided in Florida. The problem in Florida was the ballot process. They had something called a butterfly ballot, which confused everyone. What people thought was the problem became an interesting trivia question from that election, because what they had to record the votes on were computer punch cards. And when you use a computer punch card, you punch out a little piece of paper that creates a hole. And that piece of paper that you punch out has a specific name. What is the name of that specific piece of paper? The answer is at the end. So in the Bush-Gore election, the problem was the process of butterfly ballots and the process of recording the vote on a computer punch card. Let's fast forward now to this election. People are used to going to the polling place to vote. That's the general way we do it. On election day, you show up, you cast your vote. You sign in with the polling people, they identify you, you sign the paper, they give you a ballot, you go fill out the ballot, you put the ballot in the machine, done. They know who you are, they gave you the ballot. You went and filled it out, you handed it in, done. There's no confusion, everybody understands the process. That's when it happens in the polling place. Society then said, well, some people can't show up on election day, and we can make allowances for that. So for years we've had a process called absentee ballot, where if you know you can't be there, that you know you will be absent on election day, you can get a ballot ahead of time. But what do? You have to request the ballot, and then they send you the ballot. And then you fill it out and sign it and send it back. So they know who you are because you requested it and you sent it back, and that has worked very well for years. People understand that process. That process is called the absentee ballot process. That is not mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is just how sometimes it gets there, through the mail. That process is absentee ballot because you are absent on election day, but you're still able to vote. What is happening this year is in some places they are changing the process. And the Secretary of State in some states is sending a ballot to everyone on the voter rolls. You don't have to ask for it, they're just sending it to you. Well, you know how voter rolls are. Our country is a very mobile society. People change addresses on average every 2 years. And in some places also, the voter rolls aren't kept up to date, so there may still be some people on the voter rolls who are deceased. In some places there are already stories that some ballots have been sent to apartments. 3 or 4 different people have received ballots at that same apartment because people move. That is not a predictable process, and it does not inspire confidence. That is what now people are referring to as mail-in voting. But that's not really mail-in voting. That's just how it's getting there. What they're doing is mass distribution voting. They're sending ballots to everyone, whether you ask for it or not, and they don't care who you are. You just fill it out and send it back. As the ballot gets farther away from the polling place in both distance and time, there's more opportunity for mischief to happen. And we don't want mischief to happen in our elections. So we don't want more and more time and distance between the polling place and the ballot. We want it as short as possible. By doing mass distribution voting, it opens it up to more mischief. And that's not something we want. Whatever state you live in, you should check with your Secretary of State website and do a simple check. Check your voter registration information, make sure it's correct. And then if you know somebody who recently passed on, try to check their voter information and see if it shows up. If it shows up, that means your voter list in your state isn't being corrected as quickly as it should be. The answer to the trivia question, how many of you remember the 2000 Bush-Gore election? The ballot was called the butterfly ballot. What was the little piece of paper you punched out? The little piece of paper you punched out was called a Chad. Thank you for visiting Doug's Democracy Den. See you next time.